Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and today I wanted to discuss my May drawing challenge. Now this is the Cohio Level book. This is part of their 60th anniversary book series where they put a little animal in gold on every single one. I bought this in 2021. I don't know if you can find these for sale anywhere. Maybe Etsy, maybe eBay, I'm not sure. Again, I bought them because they all had a different animal, and then with the Level book you get sort of a weird, it looks like lined paper, and then this is a very specific grid. I am not using them. They're sort of like engineering document books for like they're field books essentially, but I've been using them as sketchbooks, and I've filled two other ones that are different animals, different sort of gridded pattern. I will link those sketchbook tours. One I did just monochromatic colored pencil animal portrait combinations, and the other one I did sort of an art journal with ephemera and stickers and all kinds of weird doodles and stuff. This one I am doing an illustrated garden journal. So for this one, the supplies I'm using is I am using a fine liner. This is the Rotring Isograph. This is the 0.3. I am using the Faber-Castell Polychromos, a little Caradosh Luminance. This is the Generals, the Miser Pencil Extender, Pentel High Polymer Eraser Caps. I also have the Mono Zero. This is like the 0.2 something millimeter. It's a really tiny eraser. And then for sharpening, I'm doing the Mobius and Rupert Brass Double Sharpener. And then for my circles, I've been using, this is the Alvin. This is a template combo circle master. They have a bunch of different templates. I am using, this is the, oh gosh, so 1 7/8. It's raining and it's really dark, and I have all my lamps off, so it's kind of hard to see. But this is one of their stencils, and they have a bunch of other ones if you are interested, instead of using a thing like a compass. So what I've been doing for my garden journal is I've been picking a plant that we either grow or are going to grow and landscape, and I've been documenting it. So I draw it in pen, I do my circle, and then I put the edible portion in the circle, and then I'm sort of documenting what colors I'm using. And then this is sort of a fun combination of colored pencil and ink. And then I'm making some notes. And this side is blank for notes we add later. And my husband may want to go through and add his own like gardening, maintaining notes. So I've been doing this, I've been doing 2 a day. I won't do a full sketchbook tour, but I've been doing a couple a day and filling this up. And I've kind of gone through perennial herbs, some potted things we want to grow. We're really trying to hone in on landscaping with fruit and having a more sustainable perennial garden. Like, we grow annuals, and annuals are something that just live for the one season, and perennials are ones that stay alive and keep going, keep producing. Sometimes they die back a little bit or reseed themselves, but we want to have more perennial things. That way there's less planting every planting season. So I've been using some books from the library to help me, and I'll link and I'll throw them up and link them in the description box. Perennial Vegetables by Eric Tonesmeyer has been a really good one. The Well-Tended Perennial Garden, Planting and Pruning Techniques. This is by Tracy DiSabato Ost. And then Landscaping with Fruit, and it's so small, by Lee Rake. So that's another one. So there's been a few library books that have been really helping me out. I've been e-booking them, in case you're wondering like why I'm clicking away. So check your local library for ideas, for things you want to grow, things you're interested in, things that might be fun. I mean, maybe you're not into gardening at all, or maybe you feel like where you live isn't really sustainable to having a big garden. We also have an annual herb garden on our kitchen counter, on one of our counters. It's my indoor garden, that's what I call it. I will throw up a couple pictures. Everything we have, we started from seeds, but we have a lot of aloe just for burns and cuts in the kitchen. My husband and I are huge cooks. Like, we cook a lot. We cook from around the world. We make every meal. We have a lot of dietary restrictions with autoimmune diseases in our house, so we really try and have a wide variety with a lot of seasoning and a lot of stuff. Like, we go all in. So I will throw up some pictures of some things. Like, we live in our kitchen. It's a fun place to be. So we've been trying to branch out with some of the things we grow. Basically, where we used to live before we moved was a very hot, dry sort of climate. I mean, really, really hot, like 110 hot. And we moved to a coastal region, and the growing season and the growing things are totally, totally different. We've been here for about, I don't know, 7 years, 6, 7 years. And so coastal growing is totally different than inland growing with the different growing seasons and gardening zones and stuff. In the United States, they've mapped out the US with different garden zones to sort of help you, and then plants are labeled with the zones. It's sort of one of those things, like, I want to put too fine a point on it. It's one of those things where they'll label something like, this is your garden zone, this is your number and your letter, and this plant fits in that zone. So technically you could grow it. If you can grow it. If you can keep it alive, if you can figure out how it likes to live, this would be the plant for you. I don't know that I especially have a green thumb. I think I'm just patient and stubborn. I am currently going to be drawing a lima bean. It's a vine. It can be grown as an annual. It can be grown as a perennial. It doesn't like frost, so you'll have to sort of piece that out. It sort of has interesting, I'm trying to keep mindful of the shapes of the leaves and how they clump together. This one tends to grow in threes. You're like, so does poison ivy. Yeah, leaves of 3, leave it be. But this is a vine, and so I'm gonna have viney elements and draw the things. It's only gonna be a couple greens. The greens I'm gonna use are pine green, and this is like yellow earth green, yellowish or something. Anyway, this one's getting a little small. I'll have to order a new one in the summer. It's a lot of green, basically. But it's fun. I mean, I like pen and ink. I like including multiple mediums. I like the juxtaposition of color with black line. I just really dig it. I think it looks really interesting. I'm not pre-sketching anything. I haven't pre-sketched stuff in a while. I just got out of the habit, and so now I only pre-sketch stuff if I'm trying to design like a cover of a sketchbook and solve that issue and that problem. Sometimes things are seen from the side, so some things don't flat out show themselves. In case you're wondering, what is she doing? Well, you know, side view of leaves. That's what we're doing. Sometimes they're broken, sometimes they're brittle, sometimes a leaf's been snapped off. That happens as well. Anyway. So that's kind of where I'm at with this drawing challenge. I'm actually, even though it's my May challenge, I'm going to be done with it. This is a 40-page book, and doing 2 a day only takes up 20 days. So I'm going to be done with this in April. And I'm going to start my June challenge early, because the June challenge is going to be a huge A4, and I haven't worked in an A4 in years. So I haven't done, I think the last time I did an A4 was in 2022. It's been a long time, and it's 48 pages, so it's going to be 1 page a day. I'm really going to have to sort of hone in on that and take my time, and I want to do something kind of wonky with that one. I'm thinking like all mediums, all subject matter for my June sketchbook, and I think that'll be a lot of fun. I'm trying to draw the beans in case you're like, what is she doing? I'm adding the pods that have the lima beans in them. I know they're not for everybody, but again, if you're trying to grow a perennial garden, I mean, artichokes, asparagus, some of these are more well known than others, but then you get into like, there's perennial onions, there's perennial cabbage and kale and things that live, and they're bushy shrubs, and you can landscape around them, and it looks really cool. We have the world's largest rosemary. Yeah, I'm talking about you. It's a beast, and I have to prune it back. It's the size of a human. It's as wide as it is tall. It's trying to take over the world. So we really try and landscape around that guy and make sure that everything's doing themselves justice here, you know. We don't mind planting annuals and having things that there's a lot of annual flowers that we really like. Sometimes they reseed themselves, sometimes they don't. But there's just, like, we don't have a lot of time. So the more things that come back or just don't die off, I don't mind throwing a sheet over stuff to protect from frost. It snows where we're at occasionally, which is, you know, new to us from where we used to live. If you've ever been to the beach when it's snowing, because again, we live coastal, it's really bizarre. It's like alien. It's the strangest thing to like see the waves lapping up and then the snow falling on your head. It's just the strangest thing. I dig it. I like it. It doesn't happen every year. It doesn't snow every year where we live, but when it does, you know, we drive to the beach to check it out because it's just so weird. You know, you don't think of it snowing at the beach, but our ocean's real cold. So it's really cool. If you get a chance to see that in your lifetime, I recommend it. It's just really unusual. Okay, so here's my lima vine. We kind of get the shading just a little bit. We get the pea pods a little bit. We get the general gist. All right, I'm gonna draw my circle here. Okay. Circle. And then we're gonna go in and I'm going to find pea pod to draw. Let me sharpen this just a little bit. Anyway, so this is my May challenge. It's a useful sketchbook reference of things, and there may be things that we try and plant that either don't take, or we don't care for, or we just don't eat enough of. Sometimes we'll plant something and we just can't eat it all. So, I mean, obviously we give to our poor neighbors. Like, hey neighbor, they're like, oh God, what'd she grow this year? What are we gonna be eating for months? Shout out to my neighbors. We did an annual pole bean one year. I think it was in 2020 during the pandemic. What a mess. Anyway, the pounds, and I planted 4 seeds. Oh, gosh, sounds like the start of a crazy story. All I did was plant 4 seeds. I don't know what happened. I think where I decided to stick it in, the soil was really rich. I mean, you also want to rotate your plants around because things deplete soil, and if you can compost or do worm bins or whatever you're working on. Gardening can be a lot, but it's so rewarding. Anyway, 4 seeds. That's all it took. Should have only planted 1. It wasn't like the type of plant where you need a male and female. There aren't a lot like that. I'm trying to think. There's a cucumber. I have lists. Do you want to see some of my notes? She makes notes, folks. I do. I make notes. I'm trying to think which one it was that I was reading about. And I'm like, so we're not planting that guy. I've written some stuff. I've crossed some stuff out. And then I go into perennial fruit. Cheese. Which one was it? The air potato is a weird one. A potato that doesn't grow in the ground. That one is so interesting to me. And some of these have notes, like if you're growing sorrel, you want to cook it because of the oxides or whatever. It's just, you don't want to get a goiter. Like some of these things have notes. Same with the sisu spinach. Gotta cook some of this stuff. Anyway, there was one, I will throw up the name if I can find it. I don't know. Oh, here it is. It's a cucumber, the Cocina grandis, and it's like a watermelon cucumber is what it's called or something. Anyway, you need a male and a female for flowering. And they're 9 feet tall. It just sounds like a lot. Sounds like a lot. So I'm not sure. The other thing is, like where we live, some people do little greenhouses or hot houses, or hot house is warmer than a greenhouse. Like little cloches, which is like a little mini, just over one plant, sort of, to protect it. There's tons of little things you can do. You can create little microclimates. You can grow certain things that are kind of dense and protected, and then stick a plant in between them for a little microclimate. So you don't really have to follow growing zones if you know the plant well and you're creative and crafty. I don't know the rules so you can break them. I'm down with that adventure. So I'm drawing the edible part. I'm drawing the bean pod here. Anyway, yeah, we just adventures in gardening, I guess. I only laugh because we're always like trying things and doing stuff, and then I'm like, why did we think this one would be a good idea? And my husband's like, I don't know. Like the time, okay. So if you start your pumpkins, you know, in May, you'll have them in October. Fun fact. So we like pumpkins. We enjoy going to our local pumpkin patch and, you know, supporting them and buying things from them. But we always like save seeds. You just want to make sure that they're really, really dried out before you package them away, or you'll get mold and stuff. Anyway, so we saved a bunch of seeds of some cooking ones, some like baby boos, like the little teeny tiny guys that our kids want, like 10 of them for their rooms and stuff. The little jacks, the little jack-o'-lanterns, the little orange ones. The baby boos are the teeny tiny white guys, little white pumpkins. You know, and I like the ones that are like black that look like they have stars on them, or the pink ones. Like I like really, really strange ones. Anyway, so we saved a bunch of seeds one year, and we decided, oh, we'll just grow one of each. Oh my God. One, pumpkins need a lot of room. And two, they're just huge. They're vines. They sit on the ground. Like, we just look like we were having our own personal pumpkin patch. It was 2020 or 2021. Yeah, we had we had so many pumpkins. So many pumpkins. It was hilarious. Like, we didn't have to decorate our lawn. Our lawn was already ready already. So that was kind of fun. And then, you know, the next year we're like, let's not plant as many, because that's a little wasteful. Let's not be those people. So, yeah, fun times. Like, we need to make notes. Like, keep in mind that this yields however many we can get from it, and that's just too many for us. So we have to scale back. Otherwise, you know. And then there's years where we let things dry. We'll let the pea pods dry and some of the things dry, and then I'll just put a little thing at the end of our driveway with a little box, free seeds, with little printouts of what they are and how they grow, so people walking their dogs or walking by can have free seeds. We're just giving it away when we overplant. Like, it's just, we don't mean to. And we never know, like, if we're going to have a bumper crop of something. And then some years, like, the yield is fine and it's sustainable and we're good. And then just some years it just goes bananas or something. I don't know. So, yeah. The moral of the story is we like gardening. We don't always do it well. If you're looking to get started, there are some things you can start indoor, like in a pot. Like if you just want to start small, or just, you know, like a lot of this may sound overwhelming or you're just not sure. There's an annual morning glory flower. It's a vine. It's really pretty. It comes in blue. The blue is the best for pots. We also have grown the purple one in pots. I don't even know if I have photos. The purple one's really pretty, for all my purple lovers out there. But that is a very satisfying thing to grow, because once you plant it, within 3 days, it like pops up and you can like see it growing. It grows like a 1/4 inch every day. Like, it's a really fast growing vine that does well in the full sun in your windowsill. Like, that's a thing that can be done. I would never plant the perennial morning glory unless you want it forever and your neighbors want it forever and everybody is co-signed to wanting it, taking over their yard forever. The annual one's fine. If you want a lesson in patience, which I don't know too many people signing up for that one. If you've ever tried to grow peppers from seeds, that takes weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks for the first little delicate tiny sprout to pop up, and you have to be so super careful watering it or you will crush it and it will die. That's a lesson in patience. So if you want to test your garden seed growing acumen and you think, oh no, I can grow anything from seeds, do peppers. Like that's a pretty good litmus test of trying to make things work. I've tried it all. I mean, I see why people buy like pony packs or starter packs of certain things that are harder to grow. But I find with certain stuff that if you grow it from seed, it's always bigger and brighter, and like cosmos and marigold and some of those that are really good. For all the vegetables and fruits you plant, you really want some flowers that attract and bring the bees to the yard. You really want to bring your insects in. So for all the fruits and veg, you really want the flowers too. And marigolds are a really good one. They're also edible if you're into sticking flowers in your salad. But I find when I start those from seed, that it's a way bigger, lesser plant than any of the pony packs I've ever tried to buy. And I've done side-by-side comparisons. I've done all kinds of weird tests. We've done fun little garden things with our kids and homeschooling and, biology and ecology and like teaching some of that stuff. So it's a lesson in all kinds of things. Anyway, seeds are fun. And they're pretty budget. But yeah, having a little annual sort of garden in the kitchen of herbs and stuff, especially in the wintertime, because like it's a long time between winter and spring. And I'm like, okay, I'm craving gardening, and it's wet. It's wet and it's cold, and there's too much frost, and I can't do anything. So having that in the kitchen is nice. You just want to stick your hands in some dirt. Maybe you're not a dirt person. Maybe you're like more aquaponics and you want to try water lilies or lotus or something. That's like fascinating. Or you're one of those folks that wants to get into having a self-sustaining aquarium where it's all aquatic plants that feed the fish, and the fish sort of feed the plants with their waste, and it becomes its own ecosystem. Like if you're interested in things like that, there's tons of ways to garden. There's gardening things upside down. There's I really believe the imagination is a limit when it comes to some of this stuff. There's companion planting. I can link an article. Wikipedia has a pretty good one where you stick stuff together and it yields higher because one will pull out nitrogen from the soil and the other one will put it back in. There's things like that. And again, you want to rotate stuff because it'll deplete stuff. And then you put other things in and it'll add it back. There's cover crops. If you have an area where you're not sticking a plant in and it's sort of depleted of nutrients, you can stick in different cover crops that'll fill that, and then you can just sort of turn them into the soil and it adds nutrients while it breaks down. Mulch breaks down for nutrients. Gardening is its own thing. I don't have like a garden planner or anything. This is just a composition notebook that's graph paper and I have stickers on it. That's what I use for my garden notes in case you're like wanting to get into this or try this or wherever you're at, like wherever life meets you. Back to school sales can be really, really helpful. I think mid-July, I think, for back to school sales for picking up, or the dollar store notebooks and things that are really good, super budget. Office supply places do back to school sales in the summer. You can get composition notebooks really cheap, like 28 cents or something sometimes. It doesn't have to be a really expensive thing. You write your notes in. Again, hit up your local library and see what gardening books they have for your area. They should have some area specific stuff to help you out, get you started. The internet is your friend. Like there's YouTube channels for gardening in specific areas. See what your library's purchasing policy is. See if they're willing to pick up certain books and have certain books. If you're interested in a certain book, odds are pretty good that somebody else will be too. And that'll just help everybody in your community. We have a lot of coastal garden books from other coasts, but because it's all sort of coastal weather, it all applies and it all works, and that's really, really helpful. So things to think about. I mean, maybe you live like desert or island or, yeah. check your library first. Hit them up. See what they have to say. Odds are pretty good that the shelves there will have some stuff you need that'll help you out. And then see what's local in your plant stores in different seasons. Like in the spring, they'll have spring bulbs in our local garden center. And then in the fall, they have fall bulbs for flowering. Like maybe you just want to get into growing flowers and you just want a field of flowers in your yard. Or maybe you don't have a yard. Maybe you want to do a potted garden. You know, maybe you have a little condo or a deck or just windowsills and stuff. And that's fun too. There's so many ways to do it. There's no right or wrong answer, I don't think, when it comes to gardening and doing this stuff. It's just get in where you fit in and make it work for you, you know? That's how I see it. Yeah, we don't have where we live, and again, this is something you'll have to be mindful of. If you have like an HOA, a homeowners association or something, sometimes they're very specific about what you can have in your front yard. Sometimes gardens aren't allowed in the front yard. Sometimes it's backyard only. And if your backyard's fully in shade, you're going to learn what all the shade plants are that enjoy your area. We also have to be mindful of deer. So deer are a thing that like to munch and crunch. So we have to sort of build cages, and we're really careful with bird netting. We don't want birds to get stuck, but we also don't want them eating all our blueberries. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, we have to build things. And there's books that do that too. Trellises and cages and stuff. I'll throw up a book that I know does that. If you're curious, if you want to build some of your own things. Maybe you live in a small area and they don't have like garden centers and places you can get some of this stuff. So it's a lot of DIY for you, which that's really cool. There's literally books for everything. And sometimes there's resources. You could check Pinterest. You can just check, you know, your favorite search engine and see if there are already tutorials and things on how to build stuff, raised beds, you know, window boxes, different things. Maybe you want to get into bees or bats, or, you know, like you want a bat house. You're tired of your mosquitoes. I mean, same. We live in a very humid area, so mosquitoes are... We have bats. We definitely have bats. When our youngest daughter was younger, she was like, I see black butterflies. We're like, yeah, those are bats, babes. But I like that you think they're a butterfly. That's really cool too. Or maybe you want a themed garden. Like there's moon gardens where you plant nothing but white flowers and they like glow in the full moon. There's tons of different styles. Maybe you want a garden for teas. So like German chamomile and different mints. Keep in mind mint is invasive and it'll take over the planet. But maybe you want to grow some things that are just specific to putting in your tea. So there's lots of different styles and things. I will link as many articles as I can fit without compromising too many of my social links, but yeah, gardening. That's where we're at. We're re-landscaping an area that had a bunch of things that were not only not helpful, but some were invasive to our area, some are invasive in general, some are just really, really bad plants you don't ever want to stick in the ground. So we were just cleaning everything up, and then we had to prune back the blackberries, which I love blackberries, but they'll take over the world if you don't give them boundaries. And the ivy, which I think was originally planted long before we showed up as some form of erosion control. Forest life is weird, so we will forever be battling ivy, which is the enemy. I know. So I'm just gonna make my notes here, and I need to label this accordingly. And if I talk while I write, sometimes I misspell stuff. I'm sorry. It's so hard to like talk and draw sometimes. And my brain goes, we don't like this. Trying to remember all the things. Okay. Lima bean. Okay. So my notes, making sure that, you know, it's good. So this is a perennial vine, but a lot of perennials can be grown as annuals if you want to tear them out and start over, if you hate it, if it's not working for you, if you don't eat it. I mean, okay, so that was really twisted to the side. Sorry about that. Your imagination, again, is the limit with some of these things. So, height. We can go 20 feet tall. And wide. I don't know how wide these get. Harvest. I want to put a harvest note here. Harvest. 60 to 110 days after planting. So I only used 2 colors on this one. I didn't draw any of the little white flowers. White flowers on a white background. It's just kind of, who's that for? It's not for anybody. It's not for me. So that doesn't help anyone. And then we'll make sure we have the little colors up here as well. So I can place my notes strategically. Okay. But as you can see, I get a lot of use out of this fine liner with this challenge. So it's nice. Okay. Let's see. Other notes. Other notes. I don't know. We've never grown this one, so I'm trying to incorporate some new plants this year, and I want to make sure that my notes are helpful. So direct sow after frost, soil temperature above 50. It is currently in the mid 40s at night right now, so this needs 6 to 8 hours sunlight a day. This is a full sun plant. This is not something you would stick in the shade. Rotate the bean planting location each year to reduce the risk of disease and pests. Okay. Okay, spacing. Seeds. Seed spacing. 6 inches apart. I'm not on the metric system, I apologize. Water. Okay. Bush beans, drying beans, half runners, pole beans, seed saving. I know when you want to save the seeds, you let the pods completely dry out on the vine. You just leave it till they turn brown, and then you can shake it, and as soon as you hear them rattle inside, you know they're fully dried out and you have seeds for next year. So technically you only need to buy a package of seeds once or trade with your neighbor. There's the seed exchange. There's a bunch of places. Next door, there's like an app you can, like, I don't know, try and seed swap with your neighbors. We have a garden seed swap here once a year in one of the sort of community centers, and I don't know when they do that, May or June. Anyway, you got to get there early. And they have some poisonous things. So the other thing to be mindful of is, like, if you have dogs, if you have little kids, you'll want to make notes, because sometimes, like, there's an edible portion. Sometimes the leaves are toxic or poisonous to kids, or, you know, you just want to be really, really careful. So make your notes accordingly. Yeah, you just want to be really, really careful, especially like being mindful of, even if you don't have dogs, if dogs are constantly wandering through your yard, that might be something you want to keep track of. So we need well-drained soil, nothing hard packed, which we don't have to worry too much about that. We have pretty sandy, loomy soil, so that's okay. And I think this page is done. So this is what my notes look like. And then if we have additional things, like one seed yields 20 pounds, like, dude, we don't need to plant multiple seeds next year. Or if it dies off in the frost, or if covering it doesn't save it, or, you know, anything like the deer eat it or something, like the bear comes through and decides to have a snack. Like, we need to make some notes, so we have space for that. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this was sort of a fun look into what my May drawing challenge is. I hope your week is absolutely wonderful, and I will talk to you later. Bye.